All right, everyone, welcome to the Investor Roundtable. We are getting started. I am super excited to share this information. And y'all, a big shout out to Rena on our staff who just bought her first house that she will ultimately be renting after taking the first two classes in the investor series. The third and final class is coming up in a few weeks. And so I hope that you will take that. It puts everything together and just has a long term investment plan and how to diversify as your properties and portfolio mature. So, without further ado, we're going to jump in. Please put all of your questions or comments into the chat
Great.
box. And I will go ahead and go all the way through the information, and then we'll open it up. And that way it'll be easy for you if you want to revisit this later. All the questions will come after we're not recording anymore. And at least it'll give us the groundwork to get started. So, y'all, excited about what I'm going to learn from you today, as well as what we will all learn from each other, because there hasn't been an investor class yet that I haven't taken at least 2 pages of notes. So we're just excited to have all of our investors on our class today. Just to set up for context, what we'll be doing is we're going to look for a property and we're going to discuss how we look for investment property today. And I'm going to try to keep this to around 15 minutes. And that way we can open up the floor and dive in deeper with not only questions, but comments and ideas that we can share and make it a true roundtable. We've discussed in classes, but just as an overview, why do we want to invest in real estate? And some of you have heard my story that I actually started investing off an infomercial back in the early 90s. And so it was eye-opening, to say the least. I was in corporate America. And when you look at the different options today, especially with significant inflation, real estate investing is a way for you to be able to keep up with you can keep up with inflation just due to what you are able to do with your property. So, what is a great investment? I'll be brief, but if you like this information, then please revisit this class on YouTube on our solidsourcechannel.com. There's a lot of great information about how we look at great investments. One is for investors who want to purchase a home. Just as an example, $250,000 sales price, put $100,000 in to make it worth $450,000, which is, of course, a great investment, but it's not good for people who are looking for something to create recurring income. Because even though that may be a quick $100,000, that $100,000 does not continue to offer a return. Today, we're going to be looking at properties for investor B, for landlord. And the reason is really just based on the current economic climate, which includes significant inflation. And so I just wanted to get you excited about looking and narrowing down how to find good investment property. So I thought I would put these slides in the beginning instead of at the end. Just remember, none of us are dying to be a landlord. However, I think it's exciting for everyone to think about creating a lasting stream of recurring income. And so we're going to talk about how to find those properties today. And so just as an example, purchase a rental for $300,000. Let's say you got that you put 10% down. Remember, you'll get 3% back from your commission. So yay, now you're down to 7%. And then assume the annual appreciation of the house is 4%. As we all know, my goodness, look at the appreciation this year and last year. Some areas in the metro area have gone at 20%. And then sometimes during a recession, of course, they go down. So that's why I think 4% is a good number to use, that we would assume that you could expect over the long term. So when we look at the time value of appreciation, just think about 5 years later. Okay, 5 years later, your $300,000 house would now be worth $360,000. 10 years later, your rental would be worth 420,000. 20 years later, it would be worth $540,000. My favorite part about investing in real estate, as opposed to, say, the stock market, is that at least in real estate, you are holding a deed. And in the stock market, if something happens with a lot of people that you don't know who are making all of the choices for that firm, when your stock goes down, it's just gone. If you're in a money market in a bank, I'm getting that 0.0000125 right now. You already feel frustrated about that. And so think about 5 years from today. If you take this information today and you say, you know what, I agree with Michele Velcheck, and I believe that every girl does need 3 rental homes, and everybody, not just girls. But so think about where you could be 5 years from now. 3 rental properties times 5 years, if you were to look at the same numbers, would be $180,000 more in your portfolio. If you were to say, well, I'm not sure, I want to be a landlord because I think about the time involved in that. Well, if you were to say that 3 rentals took you 20 hours each a year, okay, which, a lot of us who've been landlords for a long time, heavens, I mean, some people stay there 5, 7, 10 years as tenants. And so then it does not take you 20 hours per year. But even if it did, just think about it. 20 hours per property per year would be 60 hours if you had 3. And so if you divided that, that means at least your time was worth $1,000 an hour. That's not even including, of course, the depreciation and what you can do in different stages of life when possibly you're doing a 1031 tax-free exchange, when it's time to sell the house. We're going to look at just, I know y'all, everybody is always like, oh no, do we have to do math? So this is going to be the only math, but it's good math. So I just want to set you up, and then we're going to find a property. So if you're making $100,000 in real estate or a W-2 job, your approximate tax, and I know that, of course, there's other deductions, mortgage interest, but we're just going to isolate depreciation for a moment, just so that you can see the yet another benefit of investing in real estate. If you were making $100,000, we would assume that you would be paying around $35,000 to the government, to the IRS for taxes. But let's look at if you had 10 rental houses, okay? Because the time value of appreciation is beautiful, but this is depreciation. And so this is yet another benefit. You get to write off, you take typically, just depending on a few factors, but the normal number is 80% of the sales price of the investment property, and then divide it by 27.5, and you get to write that off every year. So the depreciation on 10 rentals, assuming around a $300,000 sales price, would mean that you got to take off $90,000 from your 100,000. And just to be sure that everyone understands, that is not for repairs. We are not assuming any repair. This is just isolating the benefit of depreciation. It would mean that your net income that you would pay taxes on is $10,000 instead of the 100 minus 35. It would be 10,000 would be your gross income minus around 2,000, because your tax rate would only be 20%, and that leaves you $98,000. So just isolating depreciation to get everyone fired up, just in case you are still thinking, I'm not exactly sure if you want to dive in. Hopefully I'm getting you there. This is just a reminder that supply and demand, regardless of what interest rates do, and regardless of what home prices do, there's always folks that need and want to rent homes. Just remember, the tenant can be choosy when there's a large supply of rental homes on the market. But of course, the landlord can be choosy when you're offering a unique deal, like on a new or renovated home. And we talk about in the second investor class just a lot of tips on being a landlord and making it as low maintenance as possible. So we're going to look for a property, and I have just updated this information this morning. So when we look at this, then you'll see that this property is still on the market. And just so you know, I went to a place that I have not owned property before because I wanted to make the point that you don't have to. I live in Roswell area, and so that means that I'm familiar with Woodstock, Alpharetta, Roswell, Milton. However, I didn't choose one of those because I want to show everyone that you don't have to be familiar with an area to find good investment property. Now, you may decide that you want to just because you don't want to travel as far as possibly, necessary to get to rental homes. But I just want to challenge you to at least have an open mind to this as we determine why I chose this hot property today. So, transportation and employment. I always try to find properties that have some reason that I think it's going to be hot, regardless of whether you're looking to flip a house or if you're looking to hold a house. There are different criteria to look at. What we're going to look at today is why would we choose something and how did we find what we're going to choose because it's hot? What makes it hot? So let's talk about it. Is there a new plant going in? Is there a new Walmart going in? Do you see a highway being expanded? Do you see roads being expanded in the area, bridges going in? And y'all, every time I teach a class, I'll always throw this in. Department of Planning and Development in every county, y'all, they are there to take your calls. And thanks so many of you for calling me because y'all, when you call me back, you just go, I can't believe how helpful they were. All you have to do is call. It's a free call, and you can ask them what's going on in that city. So today we are choosing Covington, and this is why. This was in the Atlanta Business Chronicle about a week and a half ago. It was the cover story. So I took a picture to put it in this class. I am not familiar with renting, with flipping, with anything in Covington, but what I want to do is heighten your awareness because we all see things like this, whether it's the Atlanta Business Chronicle, the local news, if you're watching on TV, if you are reading the Atlanta Journal, y'all, this information is everywhere. And what I hope to do today is when you see something like this, I would, if you personally are not looking for a home, I would at least call 5 investors because this article came out probably, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago. And so I saved it, but look what it says. It is in Rutledge that there is an electric car plant on the horizon. So now, when I saw this article and took a picture about 3 months ago, and then a week and a half ago, I just saw that on the front of the Atlanta Business Chronicle. What does that mean? It means that Covington is going to need Covington, Rutledge, all of that open area out 20 East is going to need more homes for rent. When you think about the home values that will happen out there as this starts to grow, if that plant gets started, then think about all of the employment, all the people that are going to need housing. And so when I saw the Atlanta Business Chronicle jump on the article basically that came out 3 months ago, I said, you know what? We're going to have an investor roundtable and we're going to talk about how to do that. So y'all, we're going to use FMLS today, and you can convert this, of course, to Georgia MLS, but just to keep it tight, we're just going to look at FMLS. So we're going to talk about, you saw that 3 months ago, then you saw this a week and a half ago. So let's find property in Covington, and even if you're from there, let's pretend that you're not. So when you are searching in FMLS, I know that there are plenty of successful landlords that get 3-bedroom homes with 2 baths, with garage, without garage. But what I want to just throw out there today is The best gift that you can give yourself and your family and your business and your tenants, the best gift you can give yourself is over the period of time that you have this rental, the period of time that you're allowing tenants to pay off homes for you. Okay. The hardest time is when you have to turnkey the house, when one person's moving out, another person is moving back in. And quite frankly, that can make being a landlord not so fun. So, how do we minimize the pain and the expense of turnkey properties? So, for the sake of easy and respect for your long term time of having to move one tenant out and move the next person in, we're going to go with homes less than $400,000. Notice I put 4+ bedrooms and 2+ baths. Y'all, I'm not saying that you can never get a good rental for 3 bedrooms, but what I am saying is you're going to have a lot more tenants to choose from if you get 4. So why not just do 4? And you might say, well, I mean, maybe 4 is going to be way outside the price range. Here's another thing that I put in is I put a 2+ car garage. Is it required or mandatory to have a garage? Of course not. But what I am focused on here is I am focused on making it easy when a tenant moves out to get new tenants. The majority of people would rather have 4 bedrooms than 3. The majority of people would rather have a 2-car garage than a carport or no garage. So why not just see if we could find a house to fit our criteria that would be a good deal from this morning in FMLS with this criteria? Notice at the bottom that just putting this criteria in, it's already cut it down. But I want to show you also this field if you've never used it before. It says add or remove additional fields for your permanent dashboard in FMLS. So click on that. And then what we're going to add is see down here where it says HOA rent restrictions. This is what happens when you click on add or remove fields on the dashboard. So when you click on add or remove fields, then it's going to give you all of the available fields. And so I added HOA rent restrictions. So that way I can choose no. And so now from thousands of properties that are available, I'm down to only 542. So I click on the map and then I can see what's near any place that I want to be. And so when we go a little further, just by expanding the map, then you can go through and actually start to hover over and it'll, of course, pop the house up. You can see a picture, but you can see things near the highway. But do y'all see what I see though in Covington? It doesn't look like there's a lot there. Okay, so just remember, this came from an article 3 months ago, then the one a week and a half ago, and now I'm looking at it and I'm going to have to drill down even deeper to get that. So I'm looking at the agent single line display of those 542 homes, and you can sort by 2 things. I usually sort by price first. You know why? Because I just like to be reminded that there are still homes that are $109,000, that have 4+ bedrooms, 2+ bathrooms, 2-car garage that allow rentals. So when you start to look at these prices and you start to look at the areas, hopefully you're thinking what I think, which is, wow, this is a lot of opportunity. But today, since we are looking at Covington, and we know why we're looking at Covington today, then let's sort by city. So when we're sorting, of course, all we're doing is clicking city, but this is all that's available in Covington that meets our criteria. This is it. So, of course, I'm going to choose the least expensive one first and start going down the line to see what's available. This is my winner for today. So, we're just going to look at this one. You can do your own search the way that I just did and get to this house. It's listed by Zillow. It was on as of an hour and a half ago. And I plopped it in here this morning because I just wanted this to be a hot and relevant class for today. And so when I didn't put all the pictures of this home in here, but if you look at the pictures online, then what you're going to see is, yes, it could use some paint inside because there's huge rooms that are rust, kind of the color of the um, the the trim on the house. However, that's only paint. So, this house has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, master on the main hello, and a nice yard with a screened-in porch on the back. So this is my winner for today that I would say you could put less than $3,000 into, unless there's something really wrong with it, and you would be ready to rent within a few days. So now let's go, and how do we confirm in our hearts? How do we say, I'm not from Covington. I've never bought investment property in Covington. I have never looked for rental homes in Covington. So am I concerned about calling an investor or my family and saying, hey, y'all, I want to buy a house in Covington. I think that's the next hot place. And I think that prices are going to go up significantly, and we can still get a great house in a place that we can rent with no rental restrictions. And so, how much do you think that we can make on the rent? So, I just pulled up on my phone, print screened, and put it in our presentation forrent.com. You can also go to Google and put homes for rent, Covington, Georgia. And then you'll see at least 5 top sites that you've heard of before that you can find rentals. But all I did is just open it up, pulled out 3 that I think make the point. So look at this 4-bedroom house. Okay, so yes, it looks a little nicer than the one that we just looked at, but it's also $2,700, and it's the only one that looks like that in forrent.com. Then let's look at, and this is what encouraged me to say, hey, I think this is a winner, because look at these townhomes that are only 3 bedrooms and a 1-car garage for $1,800. Look at these 2 on the far right, the 50 Gumtree Court and 30 Kinsey Way. Y'all, those houses are still $1,495 at $1,195. So when you look at this, would you feel comfortable looking at that house that was 290 and that we just looked at? And when you look at what the mortgage interest rates are today, when I look at these numbers on rent.com, I think that it validates the price. Okay. So you can, if you've never done this before, you can open Excel on your computer. Just open it. But when you just click on Excel, it'll usually have trending at the top. And if you don't see a loan amortization table that you can choose to open a blank one, then just type in the search in Microsoft Excel, just type loan amortization, and then this will pop up and you can put your own numbers in. I used 4% as the interest rate. I put 10% down. And so that took our loan amount to 261. And so when I look at the total payment of 1246.05, and then I would still need to add property tax and insurance, okay, to that number. So I still think that that would probably put us around 1,500 or less. So think about 5 years from today. If you were to look at what we just went through and you said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I want to tell y'all a big shout out to one of our awesome agents, Lynn, after the first investment class in September. Y'all, she and her husband went out and bought 2 rental houses within 2 months. And she said, when we called our accountant about the depreciation, we couldn't even believe it. And so now she's jumped in. Think about her story, and then think about what your story could be 5 years from today if you decided to jump in. So we are going to open up the floor, and we're taking questions. and open up officially the Investor Roundtable. We'll also be going through questions that you may have and anything that you want to look at as far as different areas. Please just bring that up and we can all unmute and get started, y'all. Thanks for joining the Investor Roundtable.